In the dimly lit corridors of Apex Tower, the gleaming skyscraper that housed one of the city's most prestigious tech firms, Elena Martinez clutched her father's worn lunchbox, her small hands trembling slightly under the weight of uncertainty. At just 12 years old, she had ventured into this world of glass and steel alone. Her school uniform rumpled from the long bus ride across town. The security guard at the entrance had eyed her suspiciously, but upon hearing her plea, "I need to see the CEO. It's about my dad," he relented, perhaps moved by the desperation in her wide brown eyes. Now standing outside the executive suite on the 45th floor, Elena rehearsed her words, her heart pounding like a drum in a silent storm. Her father, Miguel, the building's night janitor for over 2 decades, had been fired that morning without explanation, and the only clue was a crumpled notice citing fraudulent documentation. But Elena knew her dad better than anyone. He was the man who scrubbed floors until they shone, who saved every penny for her education, and who never complained about the aches in his back or the loneliness of his midnight shifts. As the heavy oak door swung open, revealing the stern-faced CEO, Victoria Lang, Elena stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ma'am, that's my dad's signature on those papers. Please, you have to listen." Victoria Lang, a powerhouse in the tech industry, had built Apex Innovations from a garage startup to a billion-dollar empire through sheer determination and unyielding standards. At 45, with sharp features framed by perfectly coiffed hair and a designer suit that screamed authority, she was known for her no-nonsense approach, firing employees at the slightest whiff of inefficiency. That morning, during a routine audit, her team had flagged irregularities in the janitorial logs, signatures that didn't match the records, hours inflated perhaps to skim extra pay. Miguel Martinez's name topped the list, and Victoria had signed off on his termination without a second thought. Efficiency was everything. Compassion was a luxury she couldn't afford in a cutthroat world. Yet as this slip of a girl entered her office clutching a battered lunchbox like a lifeline, something stirred in Victoria, an unfamiliar tug at her meticulously guarded heart. "Young lady," she said, her tone clipped but not unkind, "this is a place of business. If you're here about your father, the decision is final. Fraud is not tolerated." Elena's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't back down. She placed the lunchbox on the massive desk, opening it to reveal not sandwiches, but a stack of faded letters, drawings, and old photographs. "Please, ma'am, look at these. My dad isn't a thief. He's the kindest man I know." As Victoria reluctantly sifted through the contents, the story of Miguel's life unfolded like pages from a forgotten novel. There were crayon drawings from Elena's childhood, labeled Papa El Hero in wobbly Spanish script, depicting a stick-figure man mopping floors while wearing a cape. Letters from teachers praising Elena's academic prowess, noting how Miguel attended every parent-teacher conference despite his grueling schedule. And then the photographs. Miguel is a young immigrant from Mexico arriving in the U.S. with dreams of a better life for his family. Miguel holding his newborn daughter after his wife's tragic death in childbirth. Miguel volunteering at community shelters on his rare days off, his smile wide despite the exhaustion etched in his features. Victoria paused at a yellowed newspaper clipping from 15 years ago, headlined "Anonymous Donor Saves Local Orphanage." The article detailed how an unknown benefactor had donated thousands to prevent the closure of a children's home in the barrio. No name, no fanfare, just a quiet act of selflessness. But attached to it was a bank slip with a signature that matched the fraudulent ones in the audit. Victoria's brow furrowed. This didn't add up. Where did he get the money? She murmured more to herself than to Elena. The girl, sensing a crack in the CEO's armor, spoke up. "Papa always said kindness doesn't need a spotlight. He saved from his paycheck, ma'am. Every extra hour he worked wasn't for him. It was for others." The unexpected turn came as Victoria cross-referenced the signatures with the company's records. Miguel's handwriting was indeed inconsistent, sometimes steady, sometimes shaky, but not from deceit. Digging deeper into his personnel file, which she had barely glanced at before, revealed a medical note from years ago. Miguel suffered from early-onset Parkinson's, a condition that caused his hands to tremble, altering his signature over time. The inflated hours weren't fraud. They were unclaimed overtime, hours Miguel had worked without logging for pay, often staying late to help colleagues or fix minor issues around the building. But the profound realization hit when Victoria connected the dots to the anonymous donations. Using her executive access, she pulled up old financial trails. Subtle, but there, small deductions from Miguel's modest salary, funneled quietly to charities, orphanages, and even scholarship funds for underprivileged kids like Elena. He had been the building's unseen guardian, not just cleaning spills but mending lives. Victoria's mind raced back to her own childhood in a foster home, where acts of kindness were rare commodities. She had clawed her way up, vowing never to be vulnerable again. But here was a man who embodied the humanity she had long suppressed. "He never told anyone," Elena said softly, "because he said true giving comes from the heart, not for praise. But now he's sick and without his job. We can't afford his medicine." The emotional climax built in the opulent office, where the city skyline stretched endlessly beyond floor-to-ceiling windows. A stark contrast to the humble tale unfolding within. Victoria felt a wave of shame crash over her. How had she, with all her resources, overlooked the quiet heroes in her own empire? Tears welled in her eyes, unbidden and unfamiliar, as she looked at Elena, seeing not just a child, but a mirror of her younger self, fighting for dignity in an unforgiving world. In a surge of compassion, Victoria picked up her phone, dialing HR. "Reinstate Miguel Martinez immediately, with back pay and a promotion to facilities supervisor, and set up a company fund for employee hardship. Start it with a personal donation from me, $50,000. Hanging up, she turned to Elena, her voice breaking. "Your father isn't just a janitor. He's the soul of this place. I've been so focused on building walls that I forgot about the people holding them up." Elena's face lit up. But the true transformation came when Victoria knelt to the girl's level, handing her a business card. "And for you, young lady, a full scholarship to any school you dream of. Your dad's selflessness taught me something today. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the greatest strength." Elena hugged her fiercely, the lunchbox forgotten on the desk, as sobs of relief mingled with gratitude. In the days that followed, Miguel returned to Apex Tower not as a shadow in the night, but as a respected leader. His Parkinson's managed with better health care provided by the company. The employee fund grew, inspired by his story, helping dozens of families in need. Victoria, forever changed, made it a point to walk the halls, learning names and stories, weaving humanity back into her corporate world. Elena thrived, her father's secret becoming a legend whispered in boardrooms and breakrooms alike, a reminder that true power lies in lifting others. For audiences around the globe, especially in Spanish-speaking communities where family bonds and quiet resilience are cherished values, this tale resonates deeply. In a world that often rewards the loud and the flashy, the purest acts of generosity are those done in silence, sparking chains of compassion that can heal even the hardest hearts. Miguel's signature, once a mark of suspicion, became a symbol of enduring love, proving that selflessness can turn tears of sorrow into those of profound joy, leaving us all inspired to seek the heroes hidden in plain sight.